TK, the Raisin Man.
All right, we back with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And for Pittsburgh, you see it on the screen right there, y'all. Mr. Aaron Rodgers. That is the big thing here with the Steelers. Finally getting Aaron Rodgers just in time for camp. He'll be going into training camp as the Pittsburgh Steelers starting quarterback. And last year, again, just same old Steelers, 10-7, to get into the playoffs. Don't do much, but, they do get there. This year, they got them 8.5. I don't know if that's low or right around where they should be, given that they do have some turnover and some possible turmoil with TJ Watt. TJ Watt not signed, wants a new contract, and he's making it known that, hey, I want my money. Paying Aaron Rodgers and all these other cats, give me mine. But what's y'all's thoughts, man, on the Steelers, man, as we start off here in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, Pittsburgh Steelers, man, they're always in the thick of things, man. Just when you think they're dead and out of it, they just find a way to get back into the playoffs. Mike Tomlin, great coach. And the Pittsburgh Steelers, you don't really know what they're going to be this year. Is Aaron Rodgers going to be the quarterback that they think can get them over the hump, what Russell Wilson couldn't do last year? The loss of George Pickens, how they're going to, get over that. Well, they did get DK Metcalf, so that was a huge get. Would have liked to see them keep those two monsters together, but they traded George Pickens to the Cowboys. But I really think this is going to be a season to determine Mike Tomlin's future with the Pittsburgh Steelers, because if the Steelers bottom out, it gives them a reason to get rid of Mike Tomlin, which I don't agree with. I think he should be able to retire from the Steelers whenever he's ready to, because he's done so much for that franchise. He's gave him a Super Bowl. I think this man has never had a losing season with the Steelers. If so, I think it may have been once, but I don't even think that's it. I think they've been 500 or better every season that he's been with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So we're going to see, man, because he has a lot of personalities that he has to deal with. He has to deal with the TJ Watt saga over there about him getting his money. Will they re-sign TJ Watt, give him his contract extension? What about Aaron Rodgers? Is Aaron Rodgers going to turn into doing Aaron Rodgers things over there with the Pittsburgh Steelers? Can he be the players' coach and get these players to continue the Pittsburgh tradition, their culture over there? They're hard workers. They go out there and they battle. No matter who you are, they always have a chance to win. So we're going to see what Mike Tomlin does this season. This might be his toughest coaching year, but people like Cam Hayward and people like that are still there. So we'll see what the Steelers are made of this season. Coach, what you think about them going into this season?
Steelers, it's interesting. I mean, when I'm sitting here looking at the stats, the biggest issue last year seems to be the quarterback play more than anything. I mean, in terms of the passing yards, total 32-64, 21 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. So it wasn't about the turnovers in from the quarterback. It was more about the explosive plays. 2,100 yards, a little bit over 2,100 yards in rushing, Overall, their offensive rank was 23rd in the league. So everything seems to be about the quarterback. Now, I was looking at Aaron Rodgers' stats last year with the Jets, and wasn't the greatest, but I mean, roughly 3,900 yards passing, 28 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, completion percentage about 63, which was on the lowest end of the spectrum over his career. But, 62% a couple of times with Green Bay, 60% at Green Bay. Most of the times it's anywhere from, about 66 to 63. So he's right about that range. Now, we all talk about, his diva mentality and all this and that with him. But looking at these numbers, to be brutally honest with you, it was more about the Jets. It was a bad team last year, and they were poorly coached. I mean, you can't get 3,900 yards from the quarterback position if you're a bad quarterback. I'm sorry. Now, I'm not sitting here saying I expect him to, in a sense, be an elite quarterback. But if he gives the Steelers roughly about 3,900 yards, 28 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, and they can get any semblance of a productive running game, and Mike Tomlin, like you said, Pat, he always, for some reason, people write him off, but he always shows up, or he always gets his team in the playoffs. And I know plenty of Steelers. I have Steelers fans in my family, and it's roughly 60-40 that they're not happy with Tomlin, because the expectations is actually Super Bowls. When you're at Pittsburgh, it's about Super Bowls. It's not about anything else but the Super Bowls with the Steelers. So, and if we look at the total, where is it? I had it. Yeah, if we look at the rushing, I mean, Najee Harris last year had a little over 1,000 yards. Jalen Warren, 5,100 yards. Justin Fields from the quarterback position had almost 300 yards. So there is some ability to be productive in the rushing and running game. Now, the big deal is, you traded away your top receiver, but you bring in a Metcalf. So what is he going to do? You just traded for, one of the very productive tight end coming over from the Dolphins. So what are the Steelers going to do offensively? Because defensively, the Steelers have always been known as a defensive team. Last year, their defensive ranking in terms of yards was 12th in the league. So, it's just not the elite, but it's close to being in the top 10. So, really, you just need that defense to be productive and continue to do what it's doing. Yes, TJ Watt, the situation there with him. But I'm going to be honest with you. This is prior to the season, and this is usually when players hold out, when they want to renegotiate a contract. But once you start getting into, because don't forget, if they're under contract, they're getting fined and they're starting to lose money, then it becomes a different ball game. So that's all I have in terms of the Steelers.
Yeah, man. This TJ Watt thing is something to monitor, but TJ Watt is on the Steelers roster. But let's take a look at who is no longer on the Steelers roster. And let's take a look at some of the losses that they had this offseason. The quarterbacks, all of them said, Cal Allen to the Lions, Justin Fields to the Jets, and Russell Wilson to the New York Football Giants. Najee Harris, as you guys mentioned, no longer there. He is on the Chargers. We know about the George Pickens trade. George Pickens traded to the Cowboys. Another person went over to the Chargers. Mike Williams going back to L.A. Offensive tackle Dan Moore Jr. to the Titans and James Daniel, the guard, to the Dolphins. So on defense, Preston Smith, Martravius Adams, Larry Ojobi to the Bills, Landon Roberts to the Raiders, Deontay Jackson to the Chargers, Cameron Sutton, Michael Fitzpatrick, traded now a Dolphin. So a lot of turnover here for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but I mean, it's a lot to pick from, fellas. Which one or ones of these one of these players, you know, that you think is going to impact this team the most, not having them there?
This is why I said that, you know, Mike Tomlin is going to have probably have his best coaching job this year to get the Steelers back into the playoffs, into championship contention. Because like Coach said, it's about Super Bowls over there with the Steelers. They got 6 of them. And anything else is unacceptable. So you lose Najee Harris, you lose your top rusher, you lose your top receiver in George Pickens, you lose Dan Moore, your offensive tackle, you lose James Daniels, offensive guard, you lose one of your good edge rushers at Preston Smith, you lose another good defensive tackle, Ojobi. I mean, you lose Dante Jackson, one of your top corners. Then you lose your top slot corner in Cameron Sutton. You lose your top safety in Minkah Fitzpatrick. And you lose your backup safety that was on the other side with Damontae Kazee going to a rival in the Browns. They lost a lot this offseason, man. When you really put this on paper, they lost the trenches. They lost secondary. They lost receivers. They lost their running game. Like, man. That is tough. Woo, that's tough. What you think about that, Coach? Yeah, that's tough, bro. They got a lot of people on that list.
Pat, you were very poignant in attacking and addressing the key losses. Couldn't agree with you. But I'm going to say one of the ones that I think is most impactful, outside of losing all 3 of your quarterbacks, you know, because we're in a day and age, quarterback is everything. So you're bringing in a whole new quarterback staff. So there's nothing from last year to say there's some semblance of continuity. But outside of that, I'm going to go with Minkah Fitzpatrick, and here's the reason why. Speaking to my dad, who's a major Steelers fan, I would say all his life, and my dad is in his 80s, so you know he's been with them since day one, going from Noel all the way down to Tomlin right now. And I was talking to him last week about it, and he said, I don't understand why you would make the trade with the Dolphins and give up Minkah Fitzpatrick. Why not have the addition with Minkah Fitzpatrick, which makes your defensive backfield that much stronger? And I understand why, in a sense, of you had to trade Minkah Fitzpatrick because it's about equal value, but there's not any other way that you could have done it because you also got a tight end along in the trade back. So to me, there's other ways you could have done this trade and made that defensive backfield that much better and much more effective. Yes, you still have to, you know, address the front line. You know me, you know how I talk about the trenches, but that Minkah Fitzpatrick always stood out to me, you know, in that trade. And I think that's probably the most impactful in terms of the Steelers' key losses.
Yeah, of course, in the trade with Jalen Ramsey. And we're going to get into that here right now as we look at the key additions for the Steelers. They did bring in some pieces. Couple quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers, as we already talked about, Mason Rudolph coming back to Pittsburgh, Kenneth Gainwell signed on a 1-year deal. Of course, the trade with DK Metcalf, which is key because you lost Pickens, so you gain Metcalf, man. I like that swap out, man. You know, we'll see if it works out for the teams. You know, added a couple other cats, wide receivers there. Tight end, Jonnu Smith. As you said, getting him in that trade with Jalen Ramsey. Darius Slay also coming over on a 1-year deal. James Pierce, Brandon Eccles. So they did add some cornerback help there. But talk about some of these pieces that they add, and which one of these signings do you think is going to impact them the most this year?
The one that's going to impact them the most is DK Metcalf. What is it? Is DK Metcalf going to be that guy that he's supposed to be, the most dominant receiver in the NFL physically? Like, this dude's a physical specimen, and I don't see why he's never in the top receiver contention because of his production. Like, I don't get it. Like, the dude is literally built to be unstoppable. Like, he's AJ Brown with speed. So, like, it's crazy, but he's definitely going to have a huge impact. I like the Robert Woods signing. He's a veteran. He knows what to do. He's been good everywhere he's been. He's going to get those first downs. He's going to get those guys motivated out there. Jonnu Smith. Now you're not in Miami. You're over there in the AFC North now. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's a difference. It's a difference in weather. It's a difference of physicality. It's a difference in expectations. So is Jonnu Smith going to do what he did over there in Miami and Pittsburgh? That's a wait and see there. Not saying he's going to be sorry, but that's just a wait and see because it's a different animal over there. I do like the Malik Harrison signing to pair with Hayward. Do like that signing. Is Jalen Ramsey still the same? You know, those Dolphins players, when they leave the Dolphins, they normally are not the same anymore. I was just going to be honest with you. And you got to think, why would you trade somebody like a Jalen Ramsey for basically a safety? You know what I'm saying? It wasn't no first round picks or anything. It was just basically a replacement. So is that a sign of saying that he's losing it? I don't know. Darius Slade, the Eagles finally let him go. Is he still big play Slade? I don't think so. I think a lot of cornerbacks go over there to Pittsburgh just to end their careers. You know, Joe Hayden, Patrick Peterson. A lot of those guys go over there to end their careers. Deshaun Elliott has been solid his whole career. He's a heavy hitter, and he can play some safety. And Juan Thornhill can play a little bit of safety too. So with their secondary of Darius Slade, Elliott, Thornhill, Jalen Ramsey get it done over there in the AFC North against teams like the Bengals and Ravens, we'll see. But Darnell Parham's a bigger tight end too that they signed. So it's just going to be, what can Mike Tomlin get out of these guys? Is Aaron Rodgers going to be the leader that they need him to be on a 1 year, $13 million? He hasn't seen $13 million since his rookie contract. You know what I'm saying? So is he going to be motivated to go out there? You know what I'm saying? Because money talks to Aaron Rodgers, believe it or not. And he just accepted what was out there. So we'll see. But, Coach, what you guys say about their key additions?
It's all going to be about Aaron Rodgers, yes. Number one, protecting him. I mean, you know, your trenches, can you protect him? And what are you going to get in the running game?
Yeah.
The thing with Rodgers, I mean, you looking at, you know, the additions, Metcalf, Scotty Miller, Skoranek, Woods, Parham, Smith. So you're trying to give him some semblance of productive skill players to help him. But it still starts with the trenches. Is Pittsburgh going to be able to be physical at the point of attack, set up the run game, and let Aaron Rodgers get into play action and get the ball downfield? Like I said before, you know, he had roughly 3,900 yards with the Jets. So is the offensive production better here? It's going to fall on the offensive line more than anything, and key coaching adjustments. That to me is going to be major. The defense, I just, for some reason, no matter what, yes, having Minkah Fitzpatrick there with Ramsey and Slay, I think would have really boosted what they were going to do. But I also see them probably playing a little bit more zone as opposed to man, which will take some of the pressure off of Ramsey and Slay. And, you know, if you get Watts back and you get the pressure on the opposing quarterback, defensively, I think they will be all right. You know, they were 12 in terms of yards last year. So if they can give you that, and Aaron Rodgers can give you the same type of, can just be productive and let the playmakers do what they need to do, get DK Metcalf down the field, which opens up the intermediate areas to let guys like Robert Woods, Scotty Miller to attack that area, use the tight end. Who knows what the Steelers can do? I can't write them off. I know the projection is 8.5, but with Tomlin, it just seems to be 10 is just the baseline for him.
Mm-hmm.
That's the baseline. So it's like, if you can get the key coaching adjustments and these guys, especially Aaron Rodgers, because you don't want to end up, God forbid, something happens to him and turn the ball over to Mason Rudolph.
Well, we're gonna look at the depth chart and see what they got going on as far as the roster is, man. But I think it's about who's not on this list. And that's TJ Watt, because he's not signed yet. And they got to figure that out, man.
Is he signed or is he holding out? I thought he was holding out.
He's holding out.
Okay.
But I mean, again, he wants a contract, and you know how these things can drag out into a season and affect the chemistry of your team. So definitely that's something to keep an eye on. But let's take a look at what they did here in the draft. Derek Harmon, D tackle out of Oregon, first round pick, number 21st overall. Then they went and got Caleb Johnson, the running back out of Iowa, as Jack Sawyer out of Ohio State, and D tackle Yaya Black in the 5th round out of Iowa. I like those 2 picks right there. They did get a quarterback, Will Howard, Ohio State quarterback. Carson Buhner, linebacker in the 7th round. Deontay Kent, out of Central Michigan, cornerback, also in the 7th round. But which one of these guys do you think is going to have the biggest impact in year one on this Pittsburgh Steelers team?
I gotta go with my guy, Caleb Johnson out of Iowa, man. He's going to have to be the biggest impact because they have no running game. You still got Tyler Warren, but he's not a bell cow running back. He's always been the number 2 to Najee Harris. So this guy here is going to have a tremendous rookie season if they want to get back, to be in Pittsburgh as far as being that 10-win team like Coach Ford mentioned. Like, this guy's going to have to be everything back for them, man. He's going to have to be. Because I think the running game is what's going to get these guys rolling. Because I don't know about the chemistry with Aaron Rodgers with a DK Metcalf and somebody like that out there. You don't know what that guy Aaron Rodgers' head space is at. Is Aaron Rodgers going to be a 4,000-yard quarterback again? We're going to have to see. But in order for him to do that, this kid right here, Mr. Caleb Johnson, he's going to have a hell of a rookie season, man. So this is the guy that I'm saying is going to have the most impact. Bar none, man. But Coach, what you think?
First of all, Caleb Johnson from Iowa, I agree with you. He's the biggest impact to me. Staying in the black and yellow, mighty interesting there. Also, I'm looking at this and I'm like, Pittsburgh attacked the Big Ten. All of their first picks are from the Big Ten.
That's a fact.
So, now Jack Sawyer, I like, now he's not a TJ Watts, but he's a productive defensive end. He's played some big time ball and he's produced, and he's a blue collar type of player. So, he can definitely get out there. So, I like what they did, in terms of the players that they brought in. Will Howard, what are you going to get? Can you develop him for something down the road? That's a wait and see. I mean, he's a 6th rounder, so you just take a chance and see what happens, what you can get with him. Bruner's going to me, more of a, special teamers. I'm not familiar with Kent, so I can't speak too much about him. Seeing Black, usually coming from Iowa defensively, guys are fundamentally sound. That's the biggest thing. And Harmon, I do like him. Stout type of a defender. So, while it's, I'm looking at the players they brought in, they come from, for the most part, playing in the conference that is competitive, it's tough. It's in a sense a Pittsburgh type of environment, type of players, coming over from the Big Ten. So It's going to be interesting. Could they, if they had more draft picks, filled more? Yes. I would have liked to seen that, but the players that they have, if they coach them up, I think that they're going to be good and they're going to help this team.
Yeah, for sure, Coach, man. We spoke to Yaya Black at the Senior Bowl, and I think that's a sneaky good pick for the Pittsburgh Steelers. This dude is a monster.
Yeah,
You put him in that
6'8".
defense, and with Derek Harmon and the rest of the guys that they got already over there, and Sawyer with hopefully they get Watt into camp. But let's take a look at how the defense does shape up here. As we look at the roster here for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Again, you see it there: Cam Hayward, Derek Harmon, Yaya Black, Keanu Benton. You got Watt, you got Patrick Queen, Nick Herbert big in there, Malik Harrison that they signed, Jack Sawyer, Alex Highsmith. You got Slay and Ramsey in the backfield, Joey Porter Jr., Deshaun Elliott. So I mean, they stay pretty good. I think solid defensively. If you're looking at the offense, though, I think this is where they need to step it up. I say a little bit, man, but they got the pieces to do it. DK Metcalf, Robert Woods, Calvin Austin III. That's not a bad combination there. You got Broderick Jones, left tackle. You got Isaac Ciamolo, Zach Frazier, Mason McCormick, and Tony Troy Fatanu. So I mean, their offensive line, should be decent. I think. Can they run the football? We'll see. Pat Freiermuth. With Donald Smith. That's a nice combination, man. I like
Smith
that kid, Darnell Washington, man.
Right behind
yeah. So they got a good group as far as the tight end, man. What do you get out of Aaron Rodgers, and what are you going to get from the receivers and DK Metcalf, Robert Woods, and these guys? That is my biggest question on offense, man. And on defense, man, I mean, you get TJ Watt back. I mean, I think you good money, but what's y'all thoughts?
This is why I enjoy doing these previews with these guys. This Steelers roster is not bad. It's not bad. When you look at a solid offensive line, you got DK Metcalf and Robert Woods and Austin out there. Yeah, two smaller receivers, but you got Skoranek coming off the bench. If you need a bigger receiver to come in there to pair with DK Metcalf. You got good running backs. You got 3 good tight ends. Yeah, I like the way they offense, and I'm gonna bring it to a hold after the defense. You got Derek Harmon, Cameron Hayward, the ageless wonder. TJ Watt will be there. Highsmith. You got Sawyer to back those guys up. The thing that I like that I see on this defensive roster, you got Jalen Ramsey at the slot corner nickel. That allows him to be physical. So if he has lost a little bit of that blazing speed that he has, he's a menace when he actually goes in there and blitz to get after quarterbacks. And he's a willing tackler. So if you got somebody like that as your slot corner, yeah. That takes the pressure off your safeties, and that takes a little bit of pressure off your linebackers as well. And Peyton Wilson is an absolute beast. He runs sideline to sideline. Patrick Queen, absolute beast. You know what it comes down to with this Steelers team? It's that damn Aaron Rodgers. If Aaron Rodgers comes to play, they're going to be a legit team. They will be legit. And they actually could compete in that AFC North with any one of those teams. Yeah. It's on Aaron Rodgers to me, bro. That's who it's on. But go ahead, Coach.
Like I said before, it starts with their offensive line. Jones is continuously developing. He's a good left tackle. Ciamalo came over from the Eagles. You come from the Eagles. You've been fundamentally taught how to play. Zach Frazier, still developing. young offensive lineman, but he's fairly good. McCormick, you know, we talked about him at depth in the past, coming over from North Dakota State. Definitely, a good offensive lineman. And Troy Fatano, when he played at Washington, man, that jack of all trades, man.
He was
That
nice.
offensive line, Pittsburgh will run you with some 12 personnel. They'll even run 13 personnel. So imagine having those 3 tight ends, and doesn't mean that they're strictly going to run. They can still open it up a little bit on you and try and get down the field. So, Pat, you said it perfectly. Offensively, comes down to Aaron Rodgers, which I said, and if he can just get the ball to the playmakers, and don't force things, don't do things that, you're 40 plus years old. Come on, man. Just let your playmakers make plays. And, Caleb Johnson, to me, I think is going to be the key in the run game. So, and defensively, that defense, it's tough, man. I'm now thinking that, to be honest with you, I'm expecting them to get into the top 10, top 8 defensively. Looking at that defense across the board, it's like, as long as you don't have any major injuries, I think they're going to be good.
They got depth too, though.
Yes. No, I'm not saying they don't have depth.
Boy, yeah.
Yes, but you still lose a little bit of something when you go from the first to the second unit. So overall, like I said before we came to here, it's Aaron Rodgers and the coaching. You coach this team up right. They're going to be right. They can be right there now. Playing for a championship, I need to see more, but can they be another playoff? Make the playoffs again? Yes. And I know many Steelers fans don't want to hear that because to some that I hear, they don't like Tomlin and they wish he would go. But Tomlin may do it again.
So let's see their path to the playoffs. Like we said, BetMGM has them at 8.5 on the win total. Also 10th strength of schedule. So it's not going to be, a cakewalk for Pittsburgh to get there, man. They start off with the Jets and Seattle. I mean, that Jets game is going to be, emotionally filled with the Aaron Rodgers thing looming over it. Seattle's going to be a good team, man. I think they're going to be a decent team. So
DK Metcalf goes back to Seattle. Yeah,
that's going to be another thing for them. Then you get New England, Minnesota, Cleveland. So the first part of that schedule is, not crazy, man. But then you get the Bengals. Then you get Green Bay. They drop the Colts in there. But then you go to the Chargers, the Bengals, the Bears, Buffalo, Baltimore, Miami, Detroit, Cleveland, Baltimore. So they're it's gonna be a thing of attrition, I think, here with the Steelers, man, especially because the tough part of their schedule is towards the end, here on the schedule, man. So as you mentioned, Coach, injuries and things can play a part, and you're going to get some tough teams, man, in the back end of that schedule, man. But what's your thoughts, man? 8.5. What we doing here, fellas? We going over or under?
Looking at this schedule, the Pittsburgh Steelers season starts after week 5, after their bye week. Cleveland is always a tough out there division opponent. Another division opponent is Cincinnati. Then Green Bay. Get a little bit of reprieve in Indianapolis. Then it's the gauntlet. The Chargers, the Bengals, the Bears, the Bills, the Ravens, the Dolphins, the Lions, Cleveland, and then Baltimore again. My goodness.
Ain't gonna be easy.
Man, Tomlin gonna have to coach his butt off after that bye week, man. They better be 4-0 before that bye week, man. But Mike Tomlin has always been a good coach, and he hasn't had a losing season ever with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I'm going to go over. But, man, do they have a hell of a time after that bye where they got like a 10-game stretch that is just ridiculous. They're going to have to, that defense and that run game is going to have to pick up, especially when it gets to like week 10. They're going to have to depend on that run game. It's going to get colder. You're gonna have to play that Pittsburgh Steelers type brand football, and we'll see if they can come out, unscathed. But Coach, what you think about this Steelers? Over or under, man?
I'm over the 8.5. And like I said, we just talked about the roster. Yes, the schedule is tough. Don't get me wrong, it is. But I think that they can get 10 wins off of the schedule. I really do. And, it's going to be tough. But you do this, Pat, you talked about Tomlin going to have to coach his tail off. And his coaching staff is going to have to coach their tails off. Yes, you're right. But you get 10 wins out of this? Yes. They're a good team. I'm not going to say they're an elite team, but they will be a good team. And you know what? If they can play the typical physical Pittsburgh Steelers brand of football, it may change the whole outcome of their season. So it may come down to, even still with the division, possibly them in Baltimore. There is that possibility. So we'll see.
Yeah, man. But looking at that schedule, man, you said week 5, man. Week 4, man, Minnesota's gonna be tough. We'll
it's
see.
Overseas. It's an early morning game.
Yeah, man. Yep. But that's not easy either. But I'm with you guys. I'm going over 8.5. I thought that 8.5 number was low anyway for Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is normally a 9-10 win team anyway. And people can say they upgraded with the quarterback. You can say, swapping Pickens for Metcalf, might be an upgrade chemistry wise. But it's going to come down to Aaron Rodgers, man. And if he can he even last the whole season? It ain't like Aaron Rodgers, this Iron Man. It ain't like Aaron Rodgers is this Iron Man. And if we go back to that depth chart for just a quick second, Mason Rudolph is backing him up, and Will Howard. That could get ugly, especially on the end of that season. So I'm going over, but don't get it twisted. This thing could spin sideways for Pittsburgh, man. It really can. You know what I'm saying? Because that does not give me a lot of confidence at all backing up Aaron Rodgers. I mean, and if you get one-dimensional to where the quarterback can't get the ball to DK Metcalf or Robbie, oh my goodness. And you're going to have that defense out on the field all game long, yeah, eventually they're going to crack. So, but yeah, we ain't done yet, y'all. We ain't done yet, man. We coming right back, continuing our preview. Up next with the Cincinnati Bengals.